So, I always thought that America was founded on the principle that people that didn't like the authority of Europe and the monarchy, and they fled to the new continent. But basically, after a few centuries, some people, some families fled to this new continent as well, and they established the same thing, but they didn't bow down to the monarchy, they bowed down to something else.
Yeah. So I see it as the Jesuits had control and the monarchy had control, and these people wanted, the Freemasons came over here to start a Freemason-based government. That's how I see it. And they wanted to start a democracy, and they wanted to be away from the monarchy, and that caused waves in that causes waves in the secret societies, right? Because the Freemasons, they started sending people over here, Catholics, right, to try to infiltrate. And even if you look at like some of the writings of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, they were writing letters back and forth to each other about, hey, these Jesuits, these Catholics are trying to come and trying to get elected into office, and that's Jesuits. We don't want that,
Because they were Masons.
Freemasons. Yeah, we want the Freemasons to stay. So what Jesuits do is, if you see throughout time, is they end up infiltrating governments, and they start infiltrating so much that, like Japan, they said that we want all the Jesuits out. They actually kicked all of them out. The Jesuits actually got disbanded supposedly in 1773, and then the Illuminati started in 1776, May 1st, 1776. The Bulgarian Illuminati started, and then they came back together, the Jesuits. So what happened, the reason why they're getting disbanded is because they were infiltrating governments, and they didn't want that over here. So I believe that the Freemasons came over here. They started this government. Even though I do believe that the Jesuits and the Freemasons behind the scenes were getting along, they were just acting like they weren't getting along, for us, but
Worshipping the same devil.
yes. So it just gets really interesting when you start breaking things down. But what most people think is that a bunch of Christian Puritans came over here, and it's all, Christians, right, that started America. But what we actually see is more Freemasonic, and that's why you see Washington, D.C. designed the way that it is. You have the Supreme 33 Freemason in Washington, D.C., which is like the highest level of Freemasonry. They have their lodge there. We have a lot of other things, like I talked about the phallus and all this other stuff there, that you could kind of see that it's based more of Freemasonic than Christian in any way, And also you see there's different architecture where you'll see like a big star, which would be like a pentagon, or not a pentagon, pentagram.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, so the architecture is meant to look nice for you to look at. It looks beautiful, but when you look on the inside of everything, it's very, very interesting, more Freemasonic and Egyptian themed, right?
But speaking of, let's say, Christian culture, I would say there is almost none of it. If you say, let's say, some would say, so the frescoes, all the Italy, right, churches, it's Christian? No, it's Catholic. Yes, it's Christian, but it's Catholic.
Yeah, it is. And
so there is no Christian kind of a quote-unquote culture at all.
Yeah.
Because the real Christians, what I believe, are the ones that, the Protestants, because they believe the Word of God is the ultimate thing. That's it. No tradition. Correct. Sola Scriptura.
Yeah.
But
Sola Scriptura, yeah.
The Protestant churches, they're not like museums, and they're not alike. It's just a building, because it's not about the interior or exterior. It's about what happens inside the church. So I would argue that there is almost none of Christian culture at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think and I don't believe that the Catholic Church and the Vatican and all that stuff is Christian either. So yeah, I agree with you. Very, very
all
good
the
point.
Cathedrals, all that is Catholic.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful buildings, amazing buildings, but I would argue that this is not.
Yeah, and Jesus is obviously not about like having a building either. He's
no,
about that.
Not the correct building. Make it more beautiful.
Yeah. Now
the designer.
Now in the Old Testament, you see that God the Father, when He did give them specific design with the temple, right? When they did build the temple, right? So there was a specific design to that. But okay, so we'll go back to Skull and Bones. So there's a way that I could connect the Illuminati did the Skull and Bones. So back in the day, this guy James Robinson, who was a top Freemason, saw the Illuminati coming into the lodges and trying to illuminate the Freemasons. He didn't want that, so he wrote an epic called The Proof of Conspiracy, where he wrote the ritual to get into the Bulgarian Illuminati. He wrote one of the rituals, right? So, and one of the college students copied down from the headquarters of Skull and Bones a ritual that they saw on the wall. one of the college students broke into the Skull and Bones tomb, and they wrote down one of the rituals on the wall. And that ritual was exact same ritual that was written down in the Proof of Conspiracy by James Robinson, which was a top Freemason, right? So that's kind of a good way you can kind of connect those two. And then also I wanted to bring up, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier on the other episode that we talked, was in the 2004 election. The Republican ticket for incumbent was George W. Bush, and his running mate was Vice President Dick Cheney. And just to let you know that George Bush was a Skull and Bones member, and then his Vice President Dick Cheney was also went to Yale. All right, so he went against Democratic ticket of John Kerry, a United States Senator from Massachusetts, and his running mate John Edwards, a United States Senator from North Carolina. Okay, well, so George Bush Jr. was class of 68 in the Skull and Bones. John Kerry was class of 66 in the Skull and Bones, right? Both of them were bonesmen. Dick Cheney, like I talked about, he actually went to Yale. Now, there's secret societies that are out there that are college secret societies, even that when you click on them, you can't find out who the notable members even are. So I don't know if Dick Cheney was ever part of a secret society in college. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I know that he did go to Yale. So we have that, right? And obviously we saw George Bush when he was elected, he had to go do the 9/11 and all that stuff that happened. I believe he was involved in that. And so they needed to pick the right person for the job for when 9/11 went down, right? So I believe that he was chosen, and I believe Dick Cheney was also chosen, right?
Do you want to tell me the George Bush Jr. was the best candidate?
I don't think he was the best candidate, but I think he was the best for the job of them doing 9/11. What I'm saying is, I think 9/11 was an inside job, and I think they had to choose him, he's Skull and Bones, and Dick Cheney because they were the best to do this evil plot that I think they did. I didn't say he's the best candidate. Hopefully, don't take it that way.
Yeah, but
what I mean is they chose him to be in that position. So much so that there was so in Florida, they had to do a recount for him against Al Gore, right? And that was during that time of before 2001, before it happened. They did a recount to make sure that George Bush was pushed into office. So they chose him. I'm not saying that he's the best candidate. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they felt like he was the best because I think they wanted George Bush in there, right, Jr., and they wanted Dick Cheney in there for when 9/11 happened so that they could pull the 9/11 off, if that makes sense.
And Dick Cheney was an evil human being.
Very evil. Yes, very evil. Yeah, I agree. And I think that he was in there for a reason, and George Bush was in there for a reason for when they did that. But just to let you guys know, it's just interesting that we have the very tippity top of what normal people feel is power, which is the presidency. We have George Bush and we have John Kerry, both of them Skull and Bonesmen going against each other for the presidency. I thought that was interesting. And then we also have George Bush Jr., George Bush Sr. He was also, he's also Skull and Bonesman, which we talked about. And he went against Bill Clinton, right, in 1992. So Bill Clinton was was part of the list of 17 people I went over earlier that were part of the Phi Beta Kappa. So he's part of the secret society there. He's also Order of Demole, which means when you're a child, that's like when you're like a teenager, you're involved in the Freemasonry. It's like the lower level of Freemasonry before you become a Freemason, right?
How is it called?
Order of Demole. And he was part of that. So you have George Bush Sr. going against Bill Clinton, and you have George Bush Sr. being a Skull and Bonesman. Not only is he a Skull and Bonesman, George Bush Sr., but he's also an honorary member of the Nas Brotherhood at Baylor University. He's also part of the Trilateral Commission, which is I believe, a secret society think tank. We know about it, but I believe that all the stuff that they talk about is sworn to secrecy. And then he's also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, right? So we have that. And then we have him going against Bill Clinton, who is he went to Yale as well. He was part of the Phi Beta Kappa I talked about, and he's also a member of the Order of Demole, right? And he's also a Yale University alumni. So we have that going on. So they're running against each other for president as well. You see how these people that are chosen end up being in these spots, So I just think it gets really interesting how that works. Bill Clinton also was part of the Bilderberg Group, which is a private annual conference that's attended by invited guests. And there's influential politics, financiers, media, and academia that all get invited to that, right? So
and it still happens.
It still happens today. Yes.
This year, Peter Thiel was there.
Yeah. And
Great guy.
you see that I would say great guy.
Great guy, of course.
Oh, yeah.
4 days
Yeah.
seminars about the Antichrist.
Yes. Yeah.
Great topic.
Yeah. Great topic. So it gets interesting. So that's kind of just a way to kind of show you guys that the power that ends up, how they end up getting into these spots, right? So every time there's a president election, I believe that they're selected. I don't believe like me or Apollo can like start building a case to become president and end up president. I don't think that they would allow it. So some people would believe like someone like Donald Trump, like, oh, well, he came out of nowhere and he ends up becoming president. But by now, I think we should know that Donald Trump was also chosen. And Donald Trump did go to a Jesuit college at Georgetown University. So not saying he's a Jesuit, but he did go to a Jesuit school. But I think by now we should understand that all of them are chosen. And you can actually trace all these presidents back to one bloodline as well. I don't know if you've, yeah.
One?
To one bloodline, yeah. So not saying Donald Trump. I don't know if you could track him back. But all the other presidents, there was a high school kid that actually tracked all of the bloodlines of all the presidents back to one bloodline.
He's alive? The high school kid?
Yeah, he's alive, yeah. I don't think that's like something that they would kill somebody for, because it's literally like you're doing like a research paper on all the presidents. And then he ended up seeing, oh, wow, this is weird that these families all connect to here. And then he kind of just connected them all to one bloodline, which I think is interesting. But I can't tell you that Donald Trump or Joe Biden is part of that, because he did that before they were president, if that makes sense. So I don't know if they're part of that same bloodline. We'd have to look into it.
Some people say that Donald Trump is a Freemason, but there is no record, right, of it?
No, I've seen videos or like photographs of him being like
in a robe?
dressed.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's hard.
Okay.
What's AI, what's not.
Yes.
Most people create things for content. They'll create things to where they want to, even if they know it's fake. Like there's things that I knew are fake. Like I've told people that's fake, bro. There's a picture that somebody's putting out right now of, it has like, they say that Barack Obama, Bill Barr, and all these guys were all in the same picture at the same time, and they went to the same like Boy Scouts or something. And that picture is not real, but the person still posted. He gets like 30,000 views on the picture, but like I've told them it's fake, and other people have said it's fake in the comments, and they still leave it up, So what's happening right now?
You know what they do right now? So I've heard about this stuff, let's say 3-4 weeks ago, that YouTube, especially during the short clips, they enhance the visuals.
Yeah.
So I've seen this after like 2 weeks ago. I've seen this on one of my short videos. They enhanced Joey's face, and I'm going to show you the screenshot. It looks like AI.
Wow.
They enhanced it.
Yeah, they probably.
That was a big scandal in regards to YouTube doing this without any consent.
Yeah, that is.
So
that
they're
is
doing
really
this, so
interesting.
basically taking real footage, documented footage, enhancing it with an AI, and people like me and you who doubt everything, like, no, look, see his eyes, see his skin tone, that's AI.
Oh,
but basically
wow.
this is true.
Yeah, that's interesting, because YouTube has asked me several times if I want to be a part of their program, AI program. I keep saying no, I don't want to be part of it, and that could be because sometimes what they'll do is they'll send you something, and then you just go, oh, whatever's from you.
Because
Yes. You just put yes.
TNCs, bro,
Yeah,
no one
I
is
read
reading
through
that.
it, and that's what it is. It's like that. So if you put yes, then they're able to take your videos and kind of adjust them like that, So I think that is part of what they're trying to do. That's very interesting that you bring that up, that they're trying to take what is real and then make it look semi-AI so that you might not know if it's real or not.